As a kid growing up, my understanding of God and Jesus was limited to what my parents told me and what I knew from church and Sunday school. My parents told me what Christianity was when I was 5 years old, and I said a prayer to ask Jesus into my heart, but it was more out of obligation than something I wanted for myself, because I really didn't even know what that meant for me at the time. All I knew what Christianity was trying to be good, not telling lies, being nice to your brother and sister, going to church on Sunday. That was about the extent of my knowledge of Christianity until about fifth and sixth grade, maybe. In fifth grade, I started understanding a little more about what Christianity was, just trying to have a relationship with God and just be closer with Him. And I don't think I really had a relationship with Him yet. I was more just feeding off of my parents' relationship, but I knew about Him, and I was soon to know Him, I think, personally. In sixth grade, I started actually spending time with God and reading the Bible and praying with Him and just getting closer. And I think I was starting to just take Christianity more seriously and make Jesus a real thing in my life. I decided to get baptized to show other people what was going on in my life. I started taking Christ more seriously, and it was something that I wanted to do, not just something my parents wanted for me. Once I knew that I had a relationship with Jesus established, I knew that it was just growing more and more close to God. In high school, new challenges were forced on me. Up until high school, I was homeschooled, and this offered just a solid support for my family and just a safe learning environment. In high school, I was surrounded by worldly pressures, and I was a lot more independent. I had a few friends in high school, but I don't think any of them were very serious about their faith, at least not the same way I was. And this just made me feel lonely, and the loneliness just made me want to turn to something different to fill up a gap in my life. And I just started sinning. I turned to sin, and I know that God is the only thing that could have filled up that gap. Just the more I tried to fill myself up with worldly pleasures, the more empty I felt. I knew what I was doing was wrong, and I knew it was pushing me farther and farther away from God. It was through a Bible camp that I was working at my junior and sophomore year of high school that I really felt equipped to fight against the temptations that I was facing. I had a really good group of guy friends that were just there to keep me accountable and encourage me. It was just really easy to feel close to God in the summer because there was just less temptations, and everyone around me seemed to be focused on God too. But when the time came to go back home and school started again, I found myself in the same place that I was before. I felt lonely and surrounded by worldly pressures. Towards the end of my senior year, I decided that I really wanted to get rid of the sin that was strangling me. Even though I knew that I was forgiven for my sins, I was still living in guilt. But during my freshman year of college, things changed a lot. I went to a retreat in the fall called Fallapalooza that was led by Crew. It was at Fallapalooza that I really felt just the guilt of my sins just lifted off me, and I just felt the grace of God just tangible. It was really cool. I began to realize that I had been trying too hard on my own to fight temptations when all I had to do was give it to God. Fallapalooza was also really great because I met a lot of friends that also go to college with me at Concordia. I started getting really connected with a Crew worship service called The Remedy, and I attended a weekly Bible study, and I also started bringing friends to church. This strong Christian community that I was surrounding myself with helped me stay encouraged and challenged. I began to see a real difference in the way I was living. I began to make Jesus the source of my joy and peace, and I realized that when Jesus is the source of my joy and peace, then there's nothing that can take that away from me. This year has been an incredible year of growth for me, and I'm excited to see what God has for me in the future. If there's one thing I've learned that I want other people to know, it's that God is always ready and waiting for us. We just have to take the step towards Him to find the ultimate joy and peace-filled life.